Next up on the Richard and Judy Book Club podcast, we meet the Ice Twins.
A creepy, atmospheric, thrilling tome, S.K. Tremaine makes a fitting addition to the ever-expanding Richard and Judy collection, exclusive to W.H. Smith.
I push the door, and there is my 7-year-old girl, cross-legged on the floor in her school uniform, black trousers, white polo shirt, her little freckled nose close to a book, a picture of innocence but also of loneliness. The love and the sadness throbs inside me. I want to make her life better, so much, make her whole again as best I can. Kirsty. She does not respond, still reading. She sometimes does this, playing a game, not going to talk. It has become more frequent this last year. Kirsty, Moomin, Kirsty Coo. Now she looks up with those blue eyes she got from me, but bluer, Hebridean blue. Her blonde hair is almost white. Mummy? I've got some news, Kirsty, good news, wonderful news.
The Richard and Judy Book Club podcast Autumn Reads.
Well, unfortunately, S.K. Tremaine couldn't be with us, but we did catch up with him to find out a little more behind this fabulous book.
Well, look, it's extremely nice to talk to you, and I don't know if you're aware or not, but Judy has twins, and twins are obviously a common theme in our book club. What is it that you think makes twins such an alluring theme for writers?
Writers through history have been fascinated by twins. Shakespeare had twins in many of his plays. There is something both wonderful and intriguing and slightly unsettling about twins, that there can be two personalities with identical features. Are they really completely different? And there's a whole folklore surrounding twins that adds to the sense of mystery and intrigue. But also there's quite a lot of science now to say that twins are unique in many ways. There's even a hint, no one knows if this is quite true, that twins can have the same dream on the same night. And no one's quite sure how that happens, but there is some evidence that it does happen.
This is a really, really, really creepy book about twins. Really creepy. I mean, twins are themselves, as Sean just explained, they really are very fertile territory for novelists, because the idea of having two identical people in one family, sharing all sorts of weird languages, private secrets, is always really grist for the imagination.
Yes, but as the mother of newborn twins yourself...
Well, they're not newborn now,
No,
love.
but they were newborn. What I mean is they were born of you, of the day of their first day of life, etc. You'd think you'd know which was which after a reasonable period of time. So what do you make then, as a mother of twins, about this central dilemma that parents have... They've got the wrong one in terms of identifying the one that died?
Well, I think it's a very clever idea for a plot. I mean, I do think that when you've had twins in the very early days, if they are identical, it is difficult. I mean, I remember keeping my boys' hospital name tags on their wrists for several weeks just to make absolutely sure I got the right one, which, you put them on at a different end of the cot. That's difficult. But I think most mothers do, obviously, even in the most identical twins, come to know which is which. Nevertheless, the fact that in this book, the twins, Kirsty and Lydia, are so alike that their parents are not 100% sure which is which, is a very clever idea for a plot.
Well, I've said that, but of course they are, to begin with, 100% sure. It's only when one of the twins turns to them and says, no, you've got the wrong one. Not me that died.
Exactly. In the author's notes section of the book, you thank a large number of people. How important is that team around you for a novel like this?
It'd be nice to say I had a team surrounding me. I have some affable friends who give me mild encouragement. But actually, that's a little bit unfair. In the Ice Twins, there were some really, really good friends who helped, particularly with the location. It's set on this very special location, a real-life location called Eliantionach, the Scottish island. And the guy that owns it is a good friend of mine, Angel Sedgwick. And he was brilliant in letting me go there and stay there, because I had to stay there to get the atmosphere of this really bleak but beautiful place. Because back then, he's done it up a bit now, back then it really was very primitive, just as it's described in the book. Hardly any electricity, no mobile signal, terrible weather in the winter. And I stayed in the winter for 3 nights, and there was a huge storm which terrified me. So I'm very grateful to him and other people in that part of Skye for helping me stay in that amazing place.
Well, what happens? There's a horrible accident and one of them dies. And the characters they all moved to a Scottish island to get over their grief.
Sitting myself on the floor beside her, surrounded by little toys, by her penguins and Leopardy the cuddly leopard and the doll with one arm, I tell Kirsty everything in a rush. How we are moving somewhere special, somewhere new, somewhere we can start again, somewhere beautiful and fresh and sparkling, our own island. Through it all, Kirsty looks at me, her eyes barely blinking, taking it all in, saying nothing, passive, as if entranced, returning my own silences to me. She nods and half smiles, puzzled maybe. The room is quiet. I have run out of words. So, I say, what do you think? Moving to our own island? Won't that be exciting? Kirsty nods gently. She looks down at her book and closes it, and then she looks up at me again and says, Mummy, why do you keep calling me Kirsty? I say nothing. The silence is ringing. I speak, Sorry, sweetheart, what? Why do you keep calling me Kirsty, Mummy? Kirsty is dead. It was Kirsty that died. I'm Lydia.
They thought died isn't the right twin. And it's very ghostly and very creepy and very good.
Do you feel, I'm sorry, I'm kind of interviewing you now, but do you feel though that as a mother of twins, and I'm a stepfather of twins since they were 7, obviously, that it's a bit of a misnomer that they're sort of, as a human species, a bit spooky by definition? Because, you know, I think of our two and your two, and I think, nah.
I don't think twins are spooky by definition.
What is it about? What do you think it is about them as writers find so?
I told you, because it's absolutely grist to the mill. If you have two identical people who look alike, talk alike, think alike, and share a private language, as so many identical twins do, which excludes their parents, excludes other people, it's a fascinating experiment to
You're
watch.
a very successful journalist as well as a successful author. Do you think one assists the other, or are the tools and the approaches needed very different?
I'm mainly a travel journalist, and there is a wonderful synergy between the two, is that I can go somewhere exotic, or even somewhere in Europe or the UK, and I can think, wow, what a great setting for a thriller. I mean, and that kind of happened with the Ice Twins, that I'd spent a lot of time in the Hebrides, at Eliantionach, the particular island, but also in Skye and Shetland, and I love the north of Scotland. So visiting there as a travel journalist gave me more and more material for this book. So the two things, travel journalism and thriller writing, do work together very well.
And is it novel writing that gives you most pleasure?
They both give me pleasure. They're both very different. In terms of, I suppose, long-term satisfaction, then yes, writing a novel is more gratifying because you can see it on the shelves, you can see people reading it, hopefully, and it lasts. But then travel journalism is also great fun. I'm very, very lucky. I travel around the world. There aren't many nicer things than getting paid to go somewhere very nice, particularly in February when it's cold here and sunny to where you're going.
Now, come on, why the mysteriousness with those initials in your pen name?
I chose the name S.K. Tremaine, obviously not my real name, for a few reasons. It's a very different type of book to ones I've written in the past. I used to write religious conspiracy thrillers under the name Tom Knox. And someone coming to this book expecting a Tom Knox thriller with Jesuits with guns hunting for grails under the ice cap would be a little bit surprised to find me writing about wistful twins on a Scottish beach. So it was a very different kind of book. I also wanted to have a name that sort of matched the book, and Tremaine is my great-grandmother's surname. I'm Cornish, and it had a kind of Celtic feel, so the name suited the book.
And you're absolutely sure that the young boy that you told me was Tom and the one you told me was Dan are in fact Tom and Dan and not Dan and Tom?
I've got a big problem if they aren't, I tell you that much.
It's fantastic seeing your book on any bookshelf. I read a novel, my first novel, Absent Fathers. I never saw any bookshelves, and I think I got a royalty check for £0.00 because the computer couldn't believe that I'd sold so few copies. They sent out a check anyway. So these days, when I do see my book in Smiths, it is fantastic. It's always a great feeling, and I've yet to see someone reading it. I'm looking forward to that moment when I see someone on a train or on a beach reading a book. Hopefully, it'll happen soon.
From the Rich and Judy book club, I'm going to start reading No Safe House by Linwood Barclay because I enjoy books that are thrillers, and it looks like the kind of book that you wouldn't want to put down.
Well, over the summer holiday, I read Hilary Mantel's The Assassination of Margaret Thatcher, which is a fantastic collection of short stories. They're all very dark, and it's her classic, great writing style, but just in very short, pithy stories. And the other thing I read was a book by Ian McEwan, which is called The Children Act. And it's only 200 pages long, but I found it absolutely gripping. It's so well written, very, very intense.
I've just read Roger Mosey's Getting Out Alive, News, Sport and Politics at the BBC. This is a slightly autobiographical book about the former BBC executive Roger Mosey, who ran BBC Sport for a while and also was in charge of editorial decisions at the BBC for a long while as well. He's had a very interesting career throughout the corporation, doing a large number of different jobs. Hello, I'm Oliver, and I've read The Fever Tree by Jennifer McVeigh from the Richard and Judy Book Club. It's set in South Africa, although we start off in England, and it's about a lady called Frances who loses her kind of inheritance because her father sadly passes away, and then she has to take a trip to South Africa where she's going to get married to a doctor who her uncle knew because he wants her out of the way, married off. And so she's intended to this doctor, but lots of unfortunate things happen to her, and eventually she gets caught up in the smallpox epidemic and diamond smuggling, and amongst other things.
Introducing S.K. Tremaine's The Ice Twins.
There are days when it doesn't happen, and days where I just go for a walk or when I just lie in bed, and there are days when it just, actually yesterday I wrote 3,000 words in one day, which is a fantastic day, so I was very pleased, and then I feel quite smug in the evening. But then the next day nothing will happen and it's quite depressing, but that's the way it goes. I've always written. I remember writing my first poem when I was 4 years old, and it was actually published amazingly. And since then I've written journalism, memoirs, novels under different names. So it's an actual passion. It's something I have to do, not just want to do. I have to do. A day without writing is very much a day lost, a day which is quite painful and boring. So I write every day if I possibly can. People often ask me about my writing routine, and it is actually quite regular. I like to get up at about 10, which is quite civilised, and be at my desk by about 10:30. And I find that I can do maybe 2 or 3 hours of creative writing, and then I just run out of juice. I'm completely exhausted. Then I take a break, go for a walk, have lunch, and then in the afternoon I tinker, I edit and send emails, but actual writing about 2 to 3 hours a day. Normally when I finish a book, it's a kind of slight disappointment, because it's never quite as good as I imagined. I think Vladimir Nabokov, who's a great writer, said that when he finished Lolita, he felt like a house from which the grand piano had been removed. It was a sense of loss. But the strange thing is with The Ice Twins, that the day I finished it, the moment I finished it, I had a very strange tingling at the ends of my fingers, which I've never had before and maybe never have again. But I felt to myself, no, this is good. This is really actually quite good. And this is what I wanted it to be. And that was a truly amazing feeling. And I want to have it again, but who knows?
It's shaping up to be another outstanding set of books in the Richard and Judy Book Club, exclusive to W.H. Smith.
It just wrote itself. Every day was a day, time spent with Mark, and, I think if I don't like to think where I'd be without writing, without words, and being able to, articulate it on the page.
I'm a storyteller. I just want to tell stories of the sort of people who might have lived there. Then the problem is which story to choose, not whether you're going to have another idea. It's just like, hey, shut up, stop talking to me, all of you. Which of you I'm going to listen to now?
Getting to the end of a novel and writing the end is really the greatest feeling there is.
I write because I'm obsessed by writing. When I started writing, I didn't know this was going to happen. I just thought I'd have a go. And then, of course, I fell in love with it.
And we have much more in store, including...
Yeah, just one night we decided, we were, as anybody that's involved in conception knows, there's a moment when you have to kind of go for it, and that was the night. And he lit the fire downstairs, and we've got our glasses of wine ready, to watch Take Me Out, and a bit later on. And just kind of dropped dead on the pillow next to me.
And everybody hopes and expects that last words will be deeply meaningful,
yes,
and profound and poetic.
He said to me, "You've still got your socks on."
I'm looking forward to introducing you to Lucy Brownlee next time and her remarkable book.
It's something so very different. Join us next time.